Speaking of moving on, we moved on this television program. The Wingmen were in the ring. The Wingmen are composed of Ryan Nemeth, who's Dolph Ziggler's younger brother, and I like him. He's got some oomph to him. He's an entertaining fellow. We never see him on television in this company. He's always on YouTube, along with his cohorts, Peter Avalon, who's potentially one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in a ring and should be immediately shot on sight by any Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, well-meaning people. If you see this guy out in public, just shoot him on sight. Cesar Romero.
Hypothetically or figuratively, you mean?
No, well, okay, just take a baseball bat and bash his head in, turn his brains into jelly. He's a menace to society.
Jesus Christ.
Cesar Romero is back, old Caesar, and J.D. Drake. They are the Wingmen, apparently, and they were in the ring picketing with posters because they deserved more TV time. And they'd been in the ring 45 seconds when music plays, and here comes W. Morrissey. Why is his first name W?
So they don't get sued by the singer Morrissey from the Smiths.
What was his first name?
Well, he didn't reveal that. He just called himself Morrissey.
Well, then why can't this guy be like Bill Morrissey or George Morrissey or Jim Morrissey or Eddie Morrissey? Why does he have to be W. Morrissey? What is that all about? He looks like a 7-foot Greg Allman. Couldn't he be fucking Allman Morrissey?
What would the gimmick be? That he's the illegitimate child of Greg Allman?
He's the illegitimate child of Greg Allman and Cher, but we think that she fucked Wilt Chamberlain the same week. The sperm got mixed.
It doesn't even make any sense.
Yes,
then why would he be blonde? Then why would he be blonde?
Because Greg's jizz was in there.
It was a mixture of the... I don't know why I'm engaging you in this.
She took a bath in a jizz jacuzzi. A jizz-koozie, and she got the illegitimate son of Greg Allman and Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Who's explaining this on commentary? Is this Excalibur or Jim Ross?
I'll do it.
Really?
I'll do it.
Sign up for that, okay.
If they'll give him that gimmick, I'll take a job there just to be able to explain it. The jizz-koozie. So this fucking guy, and remember he was on the show once before, and he's rotten. He's rotten. And all he is another guy that's going to make other giant guys look small because that's what he's got. He's big. And he walks to the ring, and the heels just one at a time or two at a time in one's case, because that's what the spot called for, just run at him, leaving themselves open for the big bump that he's going to give them. They walk right into the shit. That Peter Avalon was especially phony and silly and fucking fake. And he's another guy that I would have fucking grabbed by the collar or the hair of the head, the seat of the pants or something, and physically thrown him out of a building I was in charge of for putting on an exhibition like that in a wrestling ring. Piece of shit. There was no life or reason to any of this. They took their requisite bumps from this fucking guy, and Stokely then comes in and he's handing out this card. There are escort services in major American cities that have more private phone numbers than old Stokely Carmichael here.
Hathaway.
Well, you Hathaway or I'll Hathaway, one or the other. And again, then Tony is there, and Tony asks old Stokely about the cards, and Stokely turns away like it's Nunya. And Tony says, no, wait a minute, this is our job. We're supposed to find out about these things. And Stokely, all 5'4" of him, who has been so far a reserved kind of fella, because Tony says, no, tell me what the cards are about. He snatches Tony up by the lapels. And then obviously, and Tony says, you jack off. And JR says, that's a fine. They've just had the fucking language meeting. So Tony calls the manager a jack off because the manager, for no reason whatsoever, snatches the announcer up by the suit jacket. And then Tony is scared of the 7-foot Greg Allman standing there, so he backs off and the heels leave. Again, why is W. Morrissey, first of all, why is his name W? Secondly, why was he there and we didn't hear anything about it until his music plays and he wanders out to accost 4 job guys that we've never seen on TV before because they're always on YouTube? And then they have a stagey situation where they take contrived bumps for this guy, obviously cooperating with it. One of them acts especially comedic to try to draw attention to himself because apparently his fucking cousin Nancy was watching back home on TV. And then the manager gets violent with the announcer when he tries to find out who this new star is. What the fuck? You got a 7-foot guy. Okay. We're going to fucking billboard him. We're going to talk about him. He's coming. He's going to be a force when he gets here. We're going to hear him talk. We're going to see footage of him in action in other places, laying waste to people. Finally, next week, he's going to be here live. Holy shit, what's going to happen? No, let's just play some generic music, bring the fucking guy out. Well, that's W. Morrissey, who's been here once, ever. Fucking shit. You jack off. Poor Tony. I bet he had to pay that fine, too.
Poor Tony. What's he doing out there?
So what do you think of William Morris and his agency?
He wishes, first of all. That's who he was related to. You know, when the Wingmen first came out, I was like, okay, who's coming out? Is it Wardlow? Is it FTR? Is it whoever it is? Who's coming out to get a little bit of time chasing off guys we never see on TV? My second thought was, oh man, Peter Avalon still works there? I thought he got released. And then W. Morrissey comes out. Now I have to call him this. You know, I was kind of ready to shit on it until the Stokely Hathaway entrance. And hear me out for a second. We have no idea where this thing's going. He has approached, successfully so far, I think, Ethan Page, the Gunn Brothers, if that's what we call them, W. Morrissey. I'm forgetting someone. Who was the other one? Lee. Is it Lee Johnson or Lee Moriarty?
I don't know.
I don't even remember. But there's a Lee. He's got a Lee. We don't know where this is going. And I agree it was ridiculous that all of a sudden he got physical with Shivani, that Shivani just no-sold it completely. But we did say we'd like to see this guy be a little bit more serious. Now, if AEW did something more serious in the right direction, it would be a shock.
You think they thought that was serious?
I think so. I think there has been a little bit of a change in the tone and how he's been presented. It's been mild, but we haven't really seen him telling jokes with Jade for a little bit. And now he's doing this.
Oh, we forgot about old Jane. Jane's in there too in the group.
No, I don't think she's part of the... She doesn't have...
Well, you never see her in the group, but she's affiliated with Stokely, and she's now... And he's giving his card out everywhere. He's just playing every side. The whole point is, if you're going to have a manager, look here. God damn it. Yes, he's been on television because he was in NXT, but it's not like being a manager in NXT meant you were managing Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and the biggest stars in the fucking world. He didn't have the pedigree of Paul Heyman. So, when you've got a manager that is not over to the level of Paul Heyman in the WWE right now, or Bobby Heenan was in his day, or in the AWA, or I wasn't in, or whatever the case, when you have a manager that's not noted for managing top talent or being affiliated with the champions or the very upper echelon guys, you have to give him one of those guys when you first introduce him, or elsewise the manager does not get over, because an unknown manager can't get over with underneath or middle card talent. Then you've pigeonholed the manager in the middle. If a unknown manager comes in and is immediately paired with a main event talent, that tells the fans that that manager is somebody important and somebody to be fucking taken into account. And then you book things along in that direction. You can get an unknown wrestler over with a main event manager, a la Bobby Heenan bringing in anybody, and they're over because they're a member of the Heenan family. But you can't do it in reverse because that does not translate. So, and then they've split this again. I understand if you didn't want the package to just be Stokely and Jane Cargill, because Jane's not out there every fucking week, and they've still not. I mean, you can't expect miracles. She's not going to have 20-minute matches. She's still green. But when they send him, okay, the Guns, and then fucking the other Page, where he's been floating and meaningless, and is he hurt? Because he never wrestles anymore. And then he's coming out and giving this other guy a card, and now he brings out that, well, now it's just all over the fucking place, and there's no focus. And are we expected to believe that W. Morrissey is a main event guy because he beat up 4 job guys that we've never seen before? Or are we expect to believe that W. Morrissey is a main event guy because the manager that gives his card to all the underneath talent has now given his card to W. Morrissey? And W. Morrissey...
That is the worst name. You're right.
Besides the fact that that is the worst name in history, he's been working out. He used to look a little soft, as they say, fleshy. Now he's been working out. He's got a nice little physique there, and he's going to have a goddamn stroke flexing so hard because he's one of these guys that thinks if you flex and make a mean face and scream till your face turns red, that will get into the camera, that will get you over to the audience at home. So that's what he was doing. Every time he'd give somebody a bump, he'd turn and flex and turn red. And no, we saw him longer the last time he had a match here, which was against, who the fuck was it? Was it Wardlow? It was somebody that was beating people every week.
Maybe Wardlow.
Yeah. And he didn't look that good, as I recall, because I said, I don't think he looks that good. So he's a guy that is deceptive. He's like a Mark Jindrak. He's just big enough and tall enough that he makes the real top talent that are big look smaller and makes the top talent that are smaller look even smaller than they already are. I'm sorry. I predict his future will be very, very dim in AEW because he doesn't know how to take care of himself, and I don't know that anybody's going to be motivated to teach him. Go ahead, your thoughts.
How do you approach someone like that for an autograph? Do you say, "Excuse me, W, man, please"? I don't know what you're supposed to say.
That's Mr. Morrissey to you.
Mr. Morrissey. That'd be better than W. Morrissey. Mr. Morrissey. Like I said, I'm just curious how they're using Stokely Hathaway because we know he could talk. He could be silly, but he could just be funny enough. He's now shown that he can be menacing to 60-something-year-old announcers. I kind of want to see where they're going with that.
But again, you don't snatch your announcers unless it's an angle. Now they've established that anybody can just snatch the fucking announcer. It doesn't mean anything. They will not save anything for when it might mean something with somebody meaningful. You should have been in a production meeting or something if somebody suggested to Vince McMahon, well, let's snatch Michael Cole or let's snatch Jim Ross. And then later on, they ended up...
Yeah, things changed after you left, Jim.
Yeah, things changed, and they ended up snatching Michael Cole and Jim Ross and putting them in the ring, and it was some of the most horrid programming in history. But when Vince still was in control of his faculties, no. You'd say, well, that'll happen as a lead-up to WrestleMania.
Wasn't Michael Cole sexually assaulted by, what was his name? Heidenreich?
Oh, Big Bad John. Yes, I think he did take him in the shower for a Johnny Valentine treatment.
And they filmed like this, whatever. It was like an episode of Oz all of a sudden on WWE.
Big Bad John Heidenreich was a hell of a guy. They could have got some fucking money out of him too, or made some money off of him, but anyway.
The answer to who is the worst road warrior.
Well, yeah.